My name is Robert Bruce, I'm sure you know that. The Akashic Records are not a particular place like we have in the physical dimension, like we could say the Eiffel Tower is in France, or we could say the Golden Gate Bridge is in San Francisco. It's not like that. The Akashic Records are a frequency. It's like a carrier wave, a frequency that permeates the entire universe. Now, this is more accessible in a visual sort of a way that we're more used to in an astral projection, where we can experience things and see them and touch them and feel them in a way that allows us to get a lot more meaningful data. Now, the Akashic Records frequency is the same frequency that all remote viewers, all clairvoyants, same thing, different structure. All fortune tellers access the Akashic Records frequency. That's how it works. Now, the Akashic Record frequency is a repository for all events, everything that's ever happened in the world, in the universe, is recorded, imprinted in the Akashic Records frequency. Now, the present also has an impact on the Akashic Records frequency. It's like the real-time zone. It's there. With the past, we have the real-time zone, what's happening now, and we have future probabilities. Now, these are probabilities. Nothing is set in stone in the Akashic Records. If it was, we would be, well, it would grossly interfere with the purpose of life, with free will, and the decisions we make. And if you look upon us all having free will, capable of making decisions, and if you look at the vast, incredibly complex tapestry that the universe is and life is, we are constantly in a process of weaving that tapestry and unweaving that tapestry. We move in a direction and we make a decision, and that direction stops, so it's unwoven, and a new direction is woven. And we, to use the analogy of weaving, to move in another direction. Now, because of this constant flux, particularly with people, because we're kind of fickle, we have whims and flights of fancy and that, and if we go to town, for example, there may be 3 particular routes we can take. We can take the coast road, we can go for the middle of town, we can take the high road for the hills, equal distance, equal traffic, and you'll just get a whim, I think I feel like driving by the ocean today, or I think I feel like driving through the hills. And that whim can make a big difference in your life. And a whim is often the movement from your own higher self, nudging you in a particular direction. I mean, if you take the coast road to go to work, you may get there uneventfully. If you drive through town, you're going to have a car accident and be put off work for a while, which is going to radically alter your life. You'll meet different people, move in a different direction. Going through the hills, maybe something else will happen, move you in a different direction. So there's a lot of things in flux, and the further they are in front of us, the more flux there is. And sometimes big events also depend upon lots of little things happening, tiny little things, little coincidences and synchronicities. I'll give you a really life example here to see this in action. A man I know in England used to be in the American man. He used to be in the American Navy. He was a commander. And one day in his 30s, he was stationed in Japan many years ago. This was after World War II. He was stationed on a base there. And he'd been there several years, single guy in his 30s. And one day he was going to go to work on the base and decided not to take his car. as he normally did, he decided it's such a beautiful day, he was going to take a bus, which means he could walk part of the way and catch a bus and enjoy the sunshine. And so he walked to the bus stop and sat down there, lovely day, and there was nobody else there but a young Japanese woman waiting for the bus as well. And polite, they sort of nodded and, sat on different ends of the bench. And a short time later, while they were waiting for the bus, it clouded over and started to rain heavily. Heavy rain. Just blew in and rained. And the young lady had an umbrella, which she politely offered to share with this young naval officer. And 3 weeks later, they were married. And they spent the rest of their lives together, and 30, 40 years later, I think it was, 40 years later, when I met this gentleman, they were still together, still very, very happy. They had children, and if you look upon this, these small coincidences here, which led to these two people meeting and spending the rest of their lives together, which defined their life path, their children, where they're going to live, what they do, it's massive, based upon a slight whim, which could have been, and probably was, a nudge by this man's higher self. And the young woman, she had to have an umbrella. If she didn't have an umbrella, they would likely have run in different directions to seek shelter. The intimacy of, sharing an umbrella sort of thing kind of brought them together. And life is like that. So a lot of things are in flux. Now, things which have fewer variables, like, for example, an earthquake slab, the tectonic plates. If you have an earthquake fault and you get pressures building up inside of an earthquake fault, or if you have a volcano, similar thing, pressure is building up here. These are very, very big events with very, very few variables. Almost none in the case of like an earthquake or a volcano. And so these pressures will build up until a certain point is reached when they will move, they will change. The volcano will erupt, or the earthquake plates will shift and cause an earthquake. Now, very few variables and very, very predictable, very, very solid in, you could say, the Akashic Records frequency. It's a similar thing to a war. A war often depends upon maybe a lot of variables involved, but they're very, very focused. When you have a lot of people involved, there's less variables, because a lot of people, like a whole country particularly, moves like a herd. It's easier to predict the movement of a herd than it is to predict the movements of a particular animal. Like it's easier to predict the movement and the course of a river than it is to predict the course of a single droplet on a pane of glass. And people are like that. So my point here is that the events in the future that have fewer variables and a much more force behind them become much more visible and stronger in the Akashic Records. Therefore, you can see them more easily. They're much more solid. And things which are smaller that have a lot of variables, often you will find they are weaker. And what you see now is the point I'm trying to make here. What you see in the Akashic Records now in the future may change as the variables change, as you make decisions, as other people make decisions. For example, if you want to see in the future how many children you're going to have and who you're going to be married to, then there could be if you're single and 18, there may be a huge amount of variables involved, like the man and the lady at the bus stop. Lots of fickle little things here, and lots of other people involved meeting this person. And who you're going to marry will define how many children you're going to have, or if you can have any, where you're going to live, what you're going to do, and a lot of things involved in these small actions and decisions that we take further back here. So there's a lot of variables there because we're fickle. We can change our mind, make another decision, and everything changing. So the point I want to make here is that when you see something clairvoyantly through remote viewing or through the Akashic Records, there are variabilities here, and what you are seeing may or may not happen. Because you are seeing it, there's a likelihood, this is a probability, okay, and the probability will be a strength of like 1 to 10, will sometimes be picked up on how solid and how detailed this event is. What I don't want you to do is to see something in the future and then set your life accordingly to it. Make changes in your life according to what you've seen in the future. Now sometimes that's warranted, like if you see into the future and you say a tsunami, a tidal wave coming, and you live on the beach, and or a great storm or something, and you can see great danger there for yourself. Very wise to take action, maybe move a bit further inland, somewhere a bit more elevated, if you see something like that. But just keep in mind that these things are not set in stone. It pays to have a good think about these things when you see things in the future. Now, based upon that, your mission here, should you choose to accept it, is to go into the Akashic Records through the astral and bring back something meaningful. And I'm suggesting here that you pick something which is going to be a fairly solid probability. So I would suggest asking for and focusing on a major world event, like a major storm or an earthquake or something, a major natural disaster. Now, natural disasters are good to focus on because they have a lot of energy around them. The more people who are killed in an accident, sadly, the more energy there is around it. When you have great loss of life, you have a lot of energy there. So your chances are with that energy, you're going to bring back some pretty accurate data. And so it's a good first target. You might want to see a future war, a future earthquake or tidal wave, something, a volcano erupting or something major. So have a think about this and choose a particular target. Major natural event occurring. You might want to see, think about it, something major. You don't have to do this. You can have something, pick anything you like, but try and pick something fairly big, fairly major. It could be, you might want to pick the person you're going to get married to, or the children you're going to have, or something like that, or where you're going to be living in 5 years' time, something like that. And also, ipsnay on the seeing when you are going to die, because trying to see the events surrounding your death is extremely difficult because your higher self then gets involved. It's almost like this is forbidden knowledge, and your higher self, which is inside of you, is a part of you, will tend to block that off, because if we did see that and trusted that we'd seen our actual death here, that could cause us a lot of problems in the here and now and severely disrupt any plans we might have in life and how life is going to proceed for us. It would be a big change and a bit too much for most people to handle. I think this has been done in the past by masters and people who are highly evolved, but viewing them on the Akashic Records is probably not a good idea, even if you could do it. And I think, I have tried. What tends to happen there is when you try to look in those areas there, it causes a lot of movement inside of you from your higher self, and there's a load of psychological factors which will tend to throw you out of the state you need to be in to get the information. Anyway, your method of getting into the astral planes and the Akashic Records may differ. You may, depending upon your particular talents and your particular abilities, you may, for example, be quite clairvoyant and you have visions, then it would be natural to use clairvoyance to access the Akashic Records because you're all looking at the same thing, just from a different angle. So you may be really, really good at lucid dreaming, and you can use lucid dreaming to access the Akashic Records in the same way as if you were having an astral projection. But that being said here, I will talk as if you were going to have an astral projection. Now, first of all, form the intention, have a think about your plan. You are going to go to the Akashic Records, this big library-like structure. Even though it's a frequency, there is, in the collective consciousness, built up over centuries, there is a structure with big columns and pillars, very much like a big library. which is commonly related to the Akashic Records. So it's a structure which can be used. So you need to get into the astral planes, and however you do that, you may want to use astral phasing, astral projection, or even lucid dreaming. You can do the same thing. But let's say you exit your body and you're out in real time and you've had to think about this, you know where you're going to go and you know what your target is, your target information. You want to see the next major natural disaster. You might want to see the next major tsunami that's going to hit in the world, if there's one somewhere. You will keep that in your mind, and you will first make a command. You will visualize the library-like structure. I'll show you a picture of that. And you will visualize that in your mind, and you will see it as strongly as you can, and in the astral it will start taking shape in front of you, or you may have an image of it in your mind's eye, and then you make a command, and in the astral you say it loudly, you speak it loudly and firmly. Talking to your higher self, you say, take me to the Akashic Records. And repeat it if you need to, take me to the Akashic Records. And if all goes well, you'll feel a shift, a movement. You might feel a force grab you and move you to the Akashic Records, and you will find yourself on the steps. If you're using astral phasing, you may with astral phasing, you start through a meditation. You have a very detailed meditation. You walk out of your house, you walk down the street, remembering as much detail as you can. You're in an altered state, and the idea is to lose yourself in the visualization of this. While you're imagining you're walking through town, using your memory to guide you, and you keep walking around, and then you want to walk maybe up in the hills. You might want to walk to a place that you've decided will be a jump-off point into the astral planes. But generally with astral phasing, after a particular time, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it takes, you are so immersed in remembering where you're going and walking through town or the area you're walking through in your imagination, that you will just phase into the astral planes. And once you are there, you go back to plan A, which is you're visualizing this place and you make a firm command. Speak it aloud if you can. Say, take me to the Akashic Records. And then you will find yourself in front of this imposing stone library with steps in front of you. And then you will walk up the steps. You will go through the door, which will usually open automatically, or even somebody may open it. And you will go into the library. And you will use your intuition to guide you, keeping in mind you've got a plan. And you want to go to the room which shows the type of information you want. So if you want to see the next major tsunami, or the next major earthquake, or volcanic eruption, something big and tight, or the next major war even, you let your intuition guide yourself to the right room. You're there with a purpose, and you sit down and you open a book. You may take one off a shelf, there may be one on the table for you. There's usually one on the table. There may even be a computer monitor there, and just by looking at it, reaffirming your intention and make the statement there, I want to see the next major earthquake, I want to see the next major volcano, or something like that, whatever your target is. Speak it out there and the screen will respond. But if you open a book, same thing. Open a book, just open it at random, intending to see this, and you'll find the pages of the book are like a computer monitor with this. There'll be a visual there. Now, once you have a visual in the Akashic Records, you're not reading words per se. You will have a vision, and the page will have a picture on it, and you will look at that, and you will feel yourself moving. The picture will get bigger, and you'll feel yourself moving towards it, and you'll feel the picture moving towards yourself. And feel this happening and intend to enter the picture. And when, if all goes well, you will shift from this chair into the vision, and then once you're inside of the vision, you will find yourself usually about 20 to 100 feet above ground, floating in your astral body, floating above a scenario that is happening. Now, then you can move around, fly around just like a normal astral projection, but you are witnessing an event of the future. Now, you may have chosen something in the past, which is also permissible, but the challenge is to find something from the future. That's a little bit more difficult, just a little. and find something. The reason why it's a good idea to find something in the future is that when this event comes to pass, you will give yourself a lot of proof, a lot of evidence here that what you did was real and true, which causes the belief system shift, which will actually help you to spiritually evolve. So here you are now floating 20 to 100 feet above the ground and watching an event happening. If you read my book, Astral Dynamics, I describe a scene in there where I saw Saddam Hussein and millions of Arab-type people, and symbolically I saw the beginnings of a war, which was the Gulf War, Gulf War I, I think it was, and that was came to pass. I've seen other things. I saw 9/11, the events of 9/11. Well, the events of I saw the explosions in the Twin Towers about a year or so before, maybe 2 years before the actual events, by doing this. And anyway, you're floating above the scene you've chosen to look at, and you can fly around just with an act of will, move down here. It's like changing your focus, and you'll fly down, get a closer look at people and events. You can go higher, move around. And once you've gathered some information, and you only want basic information here, because keep in mind, time is short. It's always short. You've got a lot more time in the astral planes than you do in real time before your physical body mind falls asleep and causes problems. You may not be able to re-enter, and you'll lose the projection. So you've always got to keep it short. So it's a good general rule. Go specifically for the information, and once you've got the gist of it, look around for a date stamp of some kind. You may find you're seeing a volcano erupting, and you may see a 57 Chevy very, very clearly on the edge of the volcano that's erupting. And that will be a date stamp. There'll be some kind of symbol or a small event there you'll see which is related to the event. You might see it on the way to it, on the way back, something relating to it which will be odd. It's out of place. And as I say, if you're looking at a volcano erupting, you see a 57 Chevy there. Now, that could be meaningless to you at the moment, but that is a date stamp and a signpost. When this event is about to happen, a 57 Chevy will come into your life somehow, will become significant. You may, for example, be driving through town and you may have a minor accident where you'll have a fender bender with a 57 Chevy, bang. And it's like, whoa. Or something might happen. You might enter a raffle where they're raffling one off, something like that. It'll become significant. You might see a car battery there and some jumper cables and booster cables. You might think, oh, that's strange. But then the date stamp for this may involve a battery. You're driving through town, or you get out into your car, you go to start it up, your battery's dead. So you need to get another battery. So you have to go and get the battery and put it in, or you may get a jumper lead on the way to getting a battery. But these things in the date stamp and the signpost here will be significant, and they will indicate that the events that you see in the vision in the Akashic Records viewing will, are about to take place because they're related to the date stamp of the event itself. So always keep an eye out for a date stamp of some kind, some symbol or something. It could be something odd, might be a cat even, something odd that will be related to that event. So keep it quick, just get the gist of this information when you enter the vision, and then have the intention, the will, of shifting back into your body again, not into your body, but into your astral body, which is sitting in the chair in front of the view. Now, you can normally do this, depending on how much control you've got. You shift from the vision back into your seat, and you may have the opportunity then of seeing another vision if you have another intention. But that's usually not a good idea. At that time, you've got some information, and it's difficult enough to bring information back from the future as it is, or even from the past, because of the time constraints and many other factors here. So grab what you can in that vision, leave the library, or just intend to be back in your body right there. I would make the command, take me back to my body. And say, before then I would say, I will remember this information. and you go through it in your head. I remember seeing the volcano and the 57 Chevy, and these will become your keyword entry words. So you build up a bit of strength with that, holding the 57 Chevy and the volcano in your mind, and then you will say the words like, take me back to my body. I will remember everything. Take me back to my body. I will remember everything. Take me back to my body. And or you could say if you can feel your body, and there's often a bit of tension between yourself and your physical body, you can almost feel it breathing. You're still aware of its presence, and it's very easy. The slightest, in that case, the slightest thought of your physical body and where it is will tend to shift you back into it immediately. So in that case there, you would want to shout out the key words. The 57 Chevy would be a good one. And so I would shout out, 57 Chevy, make a strong memory of that, and then think of my body while I'm saying that. And if all goes well, you'll wake up in your physical body with 57 Chevy in your head, and then the earthquake or the volcano, and then you'll grab your trusty pen and your large pad that's beside you and write down 57 Chevy, volcano. And they're your key words. Then comes the work of trying to pull the associated memories back with that and write down the whole experience using dream OBE recall methods. And then you start writing down the whole experience about the exit, what you experienced, how you got there, and things like that. So you've got the whole experience down. Now, this can be applied to anything, whether you're using clairvoyance. You can, once you become clairvoyant, you can visualize the library scenario and visualize yourself moving inside of it when you can see it. Even try to shift from your body, from when you're having the vision, try and shift into the building itself, which is like shifting into the book picture. If you're shifting into an Akashic record, you feel yourself shifting into it. If you're having a vision of something, try and feel yourself shifting into that vision of the Akashic library and feel yourself moving into it there. It will usually cause a shift to occur. These days, that is my major OBE exit method. I meditate, relax a bit, have a vision of something, or visualize a place I want to go, and I'll feel myself shifting into that, and I shift into it. So I find it a lot more convenient and faster than going through the the normal relaxation, deep relaxation OBE exit method as well. I do that occasionally as well, depending on what I want to do. So keep in mind, whatever your strongest abilities, you can find a way to use that ability to access the Akashic records and get there. And hopefully this is a visual ability, because the Akashic records are fairly visual. You'll get images, you'll get scenarios which you can see and hear firsthand, and then bring that back to your body. So good luck, and I look forward to hearing some of your results. Bye.